So it's March the 13th, it's 11:18 a.m. and I'm here today with Kevin Kelly. Do you give me permission to voice record you and take this interview?
I do indeed.
And are you over the age of 18?
I am.
Perfect. So please introduce yourself for me.
My name is Kevin Kelly. I'm the head of policy, advocacy and campaigns with the National Council for the Blind. I am a blind man. I lost my eyesight when I was 14, which was 18 years ago.
And can you tell me a bit about your story and background? So what level of blindness do you have and how it came about?
Okay, so I suffered retinal detachments, one in my left eye when I was 12 and the right eye when I was 14. So initially when I would have lost my sight in the left eye, life pretty much continued on as normal. I went back to my normal secondary school, primary school as it was, and then moved on to secondary school and completed first year as if nothing had ever changed. But 2 weeks into second year, I realised that when I woke up one morning that it was happening again. So basically, when I woke up that morning, it's like the colour in my eye, it was as if it was running. So like in an old TV sometimes when they were about to give up or give out, and the colours would start to blur.
Yeah.
So basically, having had the experience 18 months previous with the other eye, I went, oh shit, this is not good. And rather than tell anyone that this was happening, I chose to kind of ignore it, as you do.
Yeah.
Sensible teenage decision. And off I went, got up, got my breakfast, walked down to the school bus because I grew up in a rural part of Donegal with my brothers and sisters. Got on the bus the whole way to school as I was looking out at the countryside and I could see it all blurry and basically struggled through 3 or 4 classes, and I eventually had to give up the ghost and asked to go to sick leave because we were in geography and we're looking at OS maps, and OS maps on the best of days can be tricky, but when your one good eye is all blurry, the colours, the green, the blue and the contours were impossible. So I would have headed to the Eye and Ear Hospital where I'd been 18 months previous, and I had a number of operations on my eye, but they were unable to restore the sight, which was quite unusual because retinal detachments are quite common in middle age, and generally through intervention and surgery, sight can be restored to quite a strong, can be returned to pretty much as was. There might be a slight decrease in sight, but subsequently they found out that I had there was an hereditary condition in my family, one called retinal pigmentosis and the other called Stickler syndrome, and it was the Stickler syndrome that probably caused my retina issue because it affects the connective tissue. So when the surgeon would place the retina back in place, he would have described it as if it was a piece of wallpaper beginning to peel, so it would peel back off.
Yeah, that's very interesting. Long story, yeah. And tell me, can you read Braille? And if you can, when did you learn it?
Okay, so there's 2 forms of Braille. So there's grade 1 and grade 2. I can read grade 1 Braille quite well. Grade 2, I have some ability of it. I would have learnt it when I was going through kind of rehabilitative training provided by a mixture of the Department of Education Visiting Teacher Service and the National Council for the Blind in Donegal. I don't use it on a day-to-day basis. I would have used it at school for maths and some French.
Yeah.
I did all my maths through Braille, but having left school, I've kind of moved now more to assistive technology and screen reading devices.
Yeah, because technology is advancing so
rapidly.
Yeah, and the main question then, like, how do you commute by yourself? So what's your mode of transport, and is it difficult to get around?
I generally, I have a guide dog, so I'm quite independent. It's not easy to get around, but it is doable, and the more that you do of it, the more confident you become. So I would use probably a mixture of Dublin bus, private bus airing, taxis. That's just mainly driven by where I live currently, because I'm not close to the Dart in North Farnham. But I would use the Dart here in Drumcondra if I was went for a meeting in Leinster House or Clare Street with work. So
yeah, well that's good. Yeah, and do you find it weird asking strangers for directions? Like, do you get negative, positive responses?
I personally don't. I know there's a lot of blind and impaired people who find that very awkward, but I'm quite an outgoing character and love to talk, and you generally find that people are more than willing to help. So it doesn't bother me. What I would, and I think a lot of blind and impaired people find more off-putting or upsetting, is if you're waiting at a road junction, waiting for the lights to change or whatever, that, for example, you would come along, grab my elbow and kind of drag me across the road.
Yeah.
But like, if you think about what's happening, me as a totally blind person, like somebody coming up and grabbing me, like I don't know what's happening if you don't speak.
Yeah.
So like you could think, oh Jesus, we're in Dublin, is somebody attacking me, mugging me, etc., etc. Yeah. So I would have no issue asking for help.
Yeah, and do you find like if people don't communicate, then that's when you start getting scared?
It's probably scared isn't your initial reaction. It's probably a bit kind of like you're in your gut. You're kind of going, oh, what's happening? This is a bit kind of off-putting, upsetting. But generally, I would go, oh, how are you? And if somebody offers help, they'll generally talk in a positive manner.
Yeah.
If the person chooses to stay silent or give me your phone, you kind of then know whether this is somebody that's out to do you good or out to do you bad.
Yeah. So you really have to trust people.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And people are funny as well, because like I have my long cane. I don't actually have it down with me, but I have my white stick.
Yeah.
And like I was out one day a couple of weeks ago near where I live, and I was waiting at the crossing, minding my own business. And the next thing I noticed that my cane was kind of up, and there was somebody holding the other end of it, and they guided me across the road like that.
Yeah.
So people just don't know. That person thought he was doing good.
Yeah.
But that's just, like, to be honest with you, I laughed the whole way across the road and laughed. When I got to the other side, I was like, oh my god, like, did that just happen?
Yeah.
And the thing that I found funny about it was, like, the roller tip of your cane rolls on the path, so the amount of germs and dirt from the just grab, I was like, oh god, you just don't know. But anyway, that's their own business.
Yeah. That's what the main thing is, communication.
Yeah.
Now, so a lot of people are always interested. So, see the way one of your senses are now closed off. So, what about your other senses? Are they heightened?
That's an interesting question. I think there's research to state that doesn't happen when you lose your eyesight. I think that there's a perception that it does happen. What I would say to you is that I'm someone now who's been longer blind than when I had sight, and I think you become a better listener, a better communicator potentially. You don't make as many assumptions as sighted people might, if you know what I mean. Yeah. You don't judge the book by the cover.
Yeah.
You look a bit deeper and you try to engage. Like people will joke, well, how did you hear that or whatever, but I think it's not that my hearing got any better, it's just that I have to utilise it more to navigate or to make my way in the world.
Yeah. Exactly, so you train it more,
Yeah.
And so when you go grocery shopping, how do you buy things and do you get ripped off?
Okay, well, my big weekly shop, myself and Francie, we generally do online shopping, so it's home delivered, like your day-to-day pop in for your lunch, blah blah blah, or milk or something, the perishables, Like just go to the local corner shop. Generally, the shopkeeper or the staff will offer assistance. Don't have any examples that I normally know that I knew that I had been ripped off. I think that's less likely now because I don't deal with a lot of cash, so there's a lot of paying by card or whatever. So on. So there's no, you don't lose like €2 in your change. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, and they tend to be friendly, do they?
It's a mixed bag. Okay, so like working in a shop, like every job, there are people who are good at their job and there are people who are bad at their job, and there are people who are there to get the money and get out of there, and they don't want to push themselves. So you do get an odd person that you kind of know that they have no interest in doing this and they just want you in and out of the shop. So I think the supermarkets have improved. They are becoming more disability friendly all the time. Some are better than others. The agitators within the supermarket chains like Lidl and Aldi, because they have a different cost base, a different business type to say a Dunnes or Supervalue, who pride themselves on customer service. There can be a difference in the experience in that regard or whatever.
They train to suit their customer service better.
Yes, and they actually have staff that are able to assist you. Like if you go into your local Dunnes, you'll see a customer service desk with maybe 1 or 2 staff. If you go into a Lidl or Aldi, it doesn't exist. So somebody's been taken from somewhere else. So it's usually maybe a shelf stacker, etc., etc. So it actually is quite an interesting question, because it's one of the things we're kind of looking at as accessible shopping as part of our advocacy work. Because I know of a couple of people who have had bad experiences with Aldi, whatever. Now I've recently met the director of corporate affairs in Aldi, and we're kind of looking at jointly trying to develop some training for their staff. Because all of these will have a disability policy, but if you look up the disability policy, they tend to be quite short, succinct, 1-2 page documents. But when you read it, you don't. So when I read the Aldi one, for example, it said that people will be treated fairly, equally, blah blah blah, right? But there's no way to decipher what you can expect as a blind person or vision impaired person. So I had to ask the question. So if I rock up to Aldi and with Minds, if I ask for assistance at the till, is somebody going to guide me around the shop, or are they not? And he was like, well, I'd like to think that they would. But I was like, have they been trained to do that? No. Why is that? Oh, yes. So like, I think you can commit policies and procedures to paper, but what's actually happening out in the real world really puts the theory to test.
Yeah, that is interesting. People need to be aware. So do you think there's any false assumptions of blind people? For example, you can't do certain things, or movies over-exaggerate blind people?
That's a very interesting question. I recently had an article in the journal .ie around the negative impact that the Bird Box had on blind and vision impaired people and people's perceptions, because people were being blindfolded and were floundering around, and like if I were to blindfold you now and ask you to find your way out of the room, you have an advantage because you've seen what this room looks like, but you would find it difficult, very off-putting. Like once you get rehabilitative training with your cane, your guide dog, and you become adjusted to your new world, you can live a relatively normal life, and it is harder, yes, but I think there's a lot of perceptions out there. Like you have conversations with people going, well, Jesus, you work, how could you do that? How do you leave your house? Are you out alone? Where's your care? So people don't mean anything by it, but they generally just don't know about people's abilities. And organisations like the NCBI we have a responsibility to change people's perceptions of people with disabilities. Because until we change those kind of negative stereotypes, people are going to continue to struggle. For example, in Ireland, like only 16% of blind vision impaired people of working age, so that's 18 to 65, are actually in employment.
Yeah.
Which is quite a low figure.
That's shocking, yeah.
Yeah, if you compare that to the UK, is 41%, and it's 36-37% in Canada and the States, and there's a stat for Australia as well. So like there's a lot of work that we need to do around changing employers' impressions, etc. And I think that will change in time, and I think like within the education system that has a lot to do with it. So for example, people who are similar age to me, I can think of one guy who's blind. He was blind from birth. He grew up, he was originally from Wisconsin, but he went to special school here in Dublin for blind kids.
Yeah.
Because there was no possibility of him going to his local primary school or secondary school because mainstream education wasn't a thing. But flash forward 14 years on, when I lost my sight, mainstream education was becoming the norm. So the resources and things were put in place to allow me to return back to initially my local primary school, and then on to secondary school. And to allow me then to go through the system, and that if people are comfortable with people who are blind vision impaired, if they've encountered them through the education system, if they're sitting on an interview panel or the head of HR or working in a business, they're going to go realise, oh well sure, this fella probably is able to do the job because Catherine in my college class or Catherine in my Leaving Cert class, Jesus, sure Catherine got 40 more points than me in the Leaving Cert. Do you know what I mean? So I think that's an important thing to do. So yeah, movies do kind of portray blind people in kind of this kind of slightly amusing way where they like the thing in a lot of movies is like the blind person when they meet somebody new, like they'll touch their face.
Yeah.
All of this nonsense, whatever. Like in the 18 years that I've been blind, I've never done that. Never felt the need to do that.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So and sometimes like blind vision impaired people, particularly people who have had sight, they build up a mental image and they can picture what something looks like or might look like, the difference between a man and a woman, a chair inside of a car, which can make it easier for people who have lost their it's easy for them to navigate the world because they can picture a junction, whilst someone who's blind from birth may struggle through that because it's only words. For example, if you say the colour green to me, I can instantly picture shades of green, whilst if you say that to someone who's blind from birth, that's just a word.
Yeah.
Or the sky's blue doesn't mean anything to somebody who's blind from birth, but for me, I can picture that.
You can imagine, yeah. It's amazing.
Yeah.
So then, do you use any sort of technology to help you then with your daily life, and if so, what and how?
Well, technology in my book is the key leveler, and it really aids people's abilities to reach their full potential. So my life is dominated by technology. So I have a laptop, which bog standard laptop, but has a special screen reading program on it called JAWS, which allows me to do everything that you can do with a computer. Rather than using the mouse, I use key commands and it will read it back to me. So when I come in here, I type up my policy documents, my advocacy documents on Microsoft Word, spell check them, email them, research stuff on the internet. So all of that's, I would have completed all of my education using the laptop and the JAWS technology. I have an iPhone here in my pocket. All Apple products come with a special program built in called VoiceOver, which allows me to use the touch screen functionality. So basically, when you would take out your iPhone and you would touch the phone button, it will open instantly. But in my case, when I have this voiceover on, I have to tap it twice. But again, I can do everything on an iPhone that a sighted person can do.
Yeah.
But there are other handy devices like Alexa, for example. Like if you want to be totally lazy, like you're at home, you're like, Alexa, what's the weather going to be like? Alexa, play so and so. Like technology is constantly evolving. Even when I lost my sight, in 2001, there was no such thing as a talking phone. iPhones weren't even around. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's so funny. When I lost my sight, I had my own little Nokia 3310, as we kids of our generation probably had, and basically any of the phone numbers I had before I got my iPhone, I can still repeat them off verbatim to you today. But anything numbers I got since I got my iPhone, don't. Even if I ring them 5 times a day, I still couldn't tell you what the person's number is.
Yeah.
Because there's no need.
Yeah.
So technology is really, really key, and it's constantly evolving. I think one challenge with technology is there's 2 challenges. Accessible technology. Technology is evolving at such a rate. There's so many accessible products going onto the market, and if you're a blind vision impaired person, it can be a bit kind of off-putting to know, is this actually worth the investment or the time and energy? Is this really going to make a difference to me? So again, organisations like the NCBI need to be able to provide opportunities for people to demo these things, give them guidance and direction, because at the end of the day, people who are blind and vision impaired, as we talked about previously, unfortunately a lot of them have limited incomes, so they don't want to be wasting money on gizmos and gadgets that are going to be in the drawer in 2 weeks.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And the other challenge is like the whole technology space is evolving in the access world, but on the other hand, for sighted people, technology is constantly evolving and changing at a rapid speed, and a lot of that doesn't have disability proofing at its heart. For example, one of the issues I'm working on at the moment is in a lot of shops they have replaced the old-fashioned touch button pin machines with touchscreen, which unfortunately don't have talk activation on them like the iPhones.
Yeah.
So that's hugely frustrating and a challenge for people with blind and vision impairment have been forgotten about in that. I know that the EU are bringing out a European Accessibility Act, which will force all manufacturers of products like that to have accessibility features built in at the start, but with everything in EU legislation, that takes a number of years before it's transposed into Irish legislation. So there's going to be a gap there, and sometimes our policies, procedures, technology and business outpace them, and then people with disabilities are kind of left behind.
Yeah. Oh, that's unfortunate.
Yeah, and the other thing is that we live in a very digital world now, and there's like websites are being constantly redesigned, but there's lots of images, infographics, and if there's not all text and they're not labelled, somebody who's blind, vision impaired loses out on some of that as well.
Yeah, we need to take it into consideration.
Yeah.
So a question you probably hear a lot, and I'm curious to know, how do you get dressed in the morning?
You're not asking a terribly fashion conscious guy. So I suppose I'll give you my answer, and then I'll tell you what a Gerd would do who's blind and vision impaired. So basically, coming to work or whatever, I have suits generally. So I have suits that I wear kind of on a rota or whatever. I have my shirts, and I wear shirts that generally my collection tags will go with any shirt. So I just go to the wardrobe, and it literally is getting dressed in the dark. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. But there, for example, I know there's some people who take out their phone and there's apps like colour indicators, and they go blue, green, it'll shout out what it is. That people will get dressed that way. There are people who kind of organise their clothes like on a weekly basis, like on a Sunday, this is what I'm going to wear X, Y day or whatever, and so on, so forth. So yeah, does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, do you feel in any way, shape, or form excluded or different from other people who don't have this condition, and why do you feel like this, if you do?
I personally don't, but I would consider myself quite fortunate because I've gone to university. From the day I left university, I've never been unemployed. I haven't struggled to get a job. I've moved job 3-4 times now on this occasion, and each time it's been for natural, normal career progression, better salary, etc., etc.
Yeah.
Though there are, what we were talking about earlier, like that's not the experience for the majority.
Yeah.
So I do think that there is kind of, because of the kind of misapprehensions or kind of the myths or the lack of knowledge or awareness, like I think employers perhaps, and that's only one, for example, if they had somebody who's totally sighted like yourself and someone like myself, and we both equal qualifications, equal experience, rule of thumb, they're probably going to go for you. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that does happen. Like, and it's not all doom and gloom, but it is a fact of life, and we just have to work to change kind of people's thinking.
Yeah, but you are living proof that you can do it. Like, you're completely the same as us.
Yes, yeah. So it can be done, and I think it's and there has to be an onus on blind and vision impaired people as well, to kind of put themselves out there and to get involved and make the best of the opportunities that they have, and that sometimes takes courage, and it's not easy for everyone, and everyone's personality is different. Like, I think what you can achieve somewhat, it can be if you're when your sight loss occurs. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because like a lot of eye conditions, a lot of people experience sight loss when they're in their late 50s. With conditions like AMD, it can be harder for them to readjust to their life and go back into the world of work and learn how to use their computer completely differently from the last 40 years.
Yeah.
So it can be done. There are challenges. There are multiple things that we can do to make it easier. But that's where I would see it.
Yeah, it takes time.
Yeah, it takes time, and just like two sighted people are not the same, no two blind people are the same, and there are different eye conditions, and there's different degrees of vision impairment. There are people who are vision impaired and registered as vision impaired who don't use a long cane, but struggle with their eyesight, struggle to detect colours, for example. There are people who are colourblind.
Yeah.
There are also people who only can see a narrow tunnel. There are people who don't see anything out of the centre of their eye but see from the side. So it's a very complex picture, and it's a complex platform of need.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so we come to the end of the interview. Have you got anything else to add?
No. And I mean, if there's anything I've said there that you want me to elaborate on, by all means, now's your opportunity, shout.
Yeah, no, that's perfect. Everything's explained. Yeah, so thanks very much for the interview.
Great, thank you.
Right. Thank you.